It's Pipes, Drums, and we're here with Ainsley Hart on July 10th, 2021. Ainsley is a new president, relatively new president of Pipe Bands Australia. And we thought we'd check in with him on everything that's going on in Australia these days. He's taken on a big role after some years of ups and downs with the organization. And first of all, Ainsley, thanks a lot for taking the time today.
Thank you very much. Glad to connect.
Yeah, great. And so you became president of Pipe Bands Australia last November. How have things gone?
Well, I think we've got the ship pointing in the right direction, but these things don't always move along as quickly as we would hope. We've had a couple of challenges, some personnel changes. We had 2 changes in our secretary, our national secretary, and that's been pretty disruptive to the way the communication sort of flowed. But we're on top of that now with a new guy, a very good guy in the seat there. His name's Phil Weber, and he's getting his feet on the ground, and he's starting to do a really good job. Obviously, amidst COVID, there's been lots of changes and a lot of pivoting. We've been pretty lucky getting contests out in a variety of states. But now, as we were discussing before, we're in lockdown in New South Wales, and Victoria's had, lockdowns for quite a while. They're just starting to emerge. So not a lot of pipe band activity, which sort of has flowed on to not a lot of sort of communications flowing back up to national. Nevertheless, we've had plenty to go on with, and we've been trying to be really transparent with what we've been doing, and really trying to involve all the people on the periphery in our decision making.
Yeah, it must be difficult. For those who don't know, Pipe Bands Australia is kind of a collective of associations across Australia, because Australia is a massive great giant landmass, sort of like Canada and North America. But Canada and North America don't have that kind of collective, except for the Alliance of North American Pipe Bands Associations. But you, Pipe Bands Australia, much more involved with organizing competitions. Does that kind of approach, you find that works well for Australia?
Oh, look, it's different in different states. Exactly what you're saying. That's the challenge, and it's the challenge with the national structure, that you can't nationalize all these little idiosyncratic things that we've got going on in various states. So, for example, Victoria still runs a lot of very traditional style contests with contest promoters that have been around for a number of years. Some of them, like the Maryborough Highland Society, have property and a club and all that sort of stuff. And then you sort of look at the other side of the coin. New South Wales pretty much has none of those sort of contest promoters left. So then the New South Wales branch has to pick up those pieces and actually put on contests, so that our members have got, something to attend. So it's a mix. And, again, that puts a challenge from the national structure is, how do we relate with both of those things at the same time?
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, and we're surprised often that such an approach hasn't been taken up by Canada or the United States. It seems to make a lot of sense in many ways. You took over the Pipe Bands Australia, the collective organization, after a few contentious years under different leaderships. So what are your priorities for the first year? What have been your priorities, and what are they going forward?
Well, I think your question is in fact the answer. So the first priority is definitely stability. We just need to keep things on an even keel and make sure that we're listening to what our members are saying to us. The second thing is definitely the workflows. When the organisation was, constructed, a lot of people put a lot of time into working out how all our work flows through the branches that we were just talking about, and through the college, which we have sitting off to the side of the association, through all the adjudicator panels and vice principals in each state, and then feeding up to the national principals. Those workflows just really need to be cleaned out and made sure that we're getting communication primarily coming up the pipe, but also going back down the pipe. Don't seem to have too much problems with the going back down, but we want to make sure, to manage an organisation bottoms up, we need to hear what's coming, from the bottom through these channels.
Hmm.
And of course, we've had plenty of projects to do. We're in the middle of looking at our membership database, membership services platform, where that's been I have to say, a bit of a basket case project. It's been sort of 6 years without a result, and we're sort of had to go back to the drawing board on that and re-put out a specification, and we've made some pretty significant progress in that in the last couple of months. We've completely redesigned our communications in terms of socials and websites and email servers and domains and all that sort of stuff, which has involved, collecting all these accounts, YouTube, from Zooms and everything, and just consolidating them, getting them all in the one bucket. And we're pretty close to sort of launching on that. In fact, we've got a new website launch on the 20th of this month coming up, which is very, very, very exciting. So, and hopefully that's reflective of a lot of those things we've already spoken about in terms of, engaging the members and getting feedback from the members, and having a site that is actually reflective of, something that the members want to get involved in.
Hmm. Yeah, it seems like a recurring theme in what you just said is communications. And if we look around at associations, and some are much better than others, but it seems to be also a recurring complaint or concern of members around the world that they simply don't know what's going on, or they feel that there's not enough transparency. So am I hearing you right that communications is sort of the first order of business to correct?
Look, number one, absolutely number one. And with a lot of these styles of organisations like pipe band associations, we're relying on an old model of communicating, primarily through band secretaries. And, I'm sure, Andrew, when you started in pipe bands, or when I started in pipe bands, the fourth or fifth practice, we sat down and we had a band meeting, and, we talked about the business. Well, I don't think that happens in many bands anymore. It's email communications, and there's a lot of white noise out there. So we've just got to find a better way to get through to the members and make sure they're actually hearing what we've got to say. And 100% it's got to be the other way as well. We need to make sure that we're listening to them, and that they've got a suitable platform to get in touch with us.
Yeah, it's a really astute point. It's the old days you had to go to band practice or the member meetings or the association annual general meeting to find out what's going on.
Yeah,
Now it's the expectations are far, far different. Um,
yeah.
yeah, and that brings us, you're a competitive piper. You had long background. I believe you're an adjudicator as well. Um, do you find that's advantageous to being a leader with an association?
Well, I hope so. Um, I really enjoy piping. I really enjoy playing in solo competitions. I really enjoy playing in the band, and I hope that that's, I can bring confidence to the members that the person that they've put in this position actually understands what it's all about. I think, I don't only play pipes, I teach drums. I've had the occasional twirl of the mace, but I'm not very good on the side drums. So I have to stick to the other ones.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's yeah, I mean, a lot of organizations will look to uh, well, not a lot, we should say. I mean, people with business experience, organizational experience, but sometimes overlook the competitive, the actual musical experience. And sounds like you've got a combination of both, which is sort of the modern approach. Uh,
Hmm.
um, So, what about Australia itself? Most of the piping world, I mean, Australia has this fantastic piping and drumming tradition, rich with piping and drumming for sure. But got to admit, like New Zealand, a long, long way from Scotland or Canada or the United States or other areas, the Northern Hemisphere. Um, Given that Australia is so removed geographically, does that have advantages or disadvantages? Maybe talk about that.
Well, I think it has both. I think it has both. I think you've got to recognize, the tyranny of distance is what it is. And so we adjust what we do around those sort of things, particularly in terms of, Highland gatherings and competitions and, getting together and things like that. So, like a major contest in Australia looks nothing like a major contest in Scotland. So, and yet there's some reasons why we need to follow the RSPBA's lead on, you know, um, we don't want to disadvantage our bands that want to travel to Scotland by imposing, say, different musical criteria on them. That's something that we've just gone through a bit of a change here at the moment, where um, we've actually gone away from the map prescribed tunes settings, um, because we need to open up the opportunity for bands that aren't yet at that level. We do have a lot of bands. We're sort of bottom heavy, if you like, with grade 4B, 4A bands. And we need to get as many of them on the park as we possibly can. And we don't want to be putting impediments in their way. So, it's a little bit of a yes, yeah, we need to follow the RSPBA lead. And it's a little bit of no, we've also got to do our own thing to suit our own environment.
Hmm. Yeah, it's maybe we'll pick up on that in part two. Um, so some good thoughts there. So let's stay tuned for part two.